Suppose we have a teacher who is unexperienced with gamification and would like to start to do something, believes in it, would like to try and see the effects. How can the teacher start in a very small way?
Small. Always start small. Games.
What can be an example?
Using a game. The best example is what Nina does. You use small games for reviewing material. Okay. You use small games for the, let's say, peripheral parts of teaching. That is, for introducing concepts like what they already know about something, or to review concepts, to review contents at the end of the lesson, to support and reinforce what they learned. So you take it to the periphery of your unit, that is previous knowledge, what you know about something, or reviewing contents before exams, for example, support. So start small, use a game, small games, easy games, games that are rules easy, that are not very long, that can be replicated in the class, easily replicated in the class, and that students can manage by themselves. Because if students can manage by themselves, if they know the rules and they know when it's well played, when it's not well played, we're also using peer learning. So they're not only learning through the game, they're learning through their colleagues, their peers. So that for reviewing, for example, is very interesting because it makes them autonomous. And that's something very important for the question Valerie asked before, related to self-esteem. If we gave our students tools to improve their self-esteem through the games, because they know the games, and they know how to play, and they can help their classmates when they're playing, we're reinforcing a positive view towards education and towards the class. And that works in their benefit because they're going to be more confident and their self-esteem is going to improve.
Would you use competition in that?
It depends on the class. It depends on the group. Certain groups can't handle competition because they lose the point, they lose the focus. What you're trying to teach them, and they just fix on the competition. They just fix on winning. In certain groups, it doesn't work. It creates a very negative dynamic in the class. I've had it. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't usually like it because they lose the focus on.
They lose the focus on what they're learning.
Yeah, I want them to focus on learning, and if they're having fun while they're learning, all the better for them. But sometimes competition, and it's what happens, for example, with football or with some team sports. That kind of competition just makes them not focus on the learning, just on the winning by any means. And that's not good. So in certain groups, competition works very well. If they're mature enough to understand that competition is not competition against the others, it's competition to do your best or to perform to the best of your ability.
For example, competition, I did something very simple about learning all the regular verbs. So I divided them in groups and everything, and they learned by doing it. I mean, they didn't lose focus on that. They learned.
Exactly. What happens with competition?
It was about not just competing about, with one another, but just competing in learning something.
It's about the focus. If they're focused on the learning, that's perfect. Now, the point with competition, it's been proved again and again. When you have a competitive system and the same people are winning all the time, the rest of the people lose interest because they can't win.
Yeah.
So if before the competition, they were trying, even if their performance was not very good, the results were not very good, but they were trying. If you have the competition and they see they can't win, they're gonna try even less. So competition is it's very related to the class you're using.
Mhm.
And for some people, it's perfect. Some other people can handle competition. So we need to know the people in our class to be able to make those kind of decisions. If we know they're going to be play ball, perfect. If I think some of my students are going to disconnect because they can win or because they don't like the pressure of the competition, what I do is design a system with more than one action. It's not only competitive, it can be cooperative, competitive, so it's not individual competition, it's team competition, and you can add to your team. You can be, say, useful in your team, even if you're not that kind of competitive person, but your values or your skills are somewhere else. So what I'd say is know your students, and from knowing your students, you can decide what's better for them. Because in the end, it's deciding what's better for them. And I've had classes where competition just messed everything up. They might get upset, they might get angry with each other because something happened. There's cheaters. Sometimes people cheat. No one likes a cheater, but people are so focused on winning that they would do anything. And that creates a negative dynamic in the class. I was a teacher with groups of disadvantaged kids. Most of them were very aggressive. From learning disadvantages, they were very aggressive, and they had behavioral problems. So competition in that context wouldn't work at all, because they would end up fighting each other. So it's about learning. It's learning the context. Remember what I said, when you're designing the system, the first thing you know is analyze the context. And then you make decisions related to that particular context.
Once I asked my students to support the weakest. For example, I had a group of 4 people who were brilliant students, and they had to support one of the weakest, and they would give a very good mark if they managed to do it. And this worked very well.
Of course, because you're giving the top players, let's talk about players, you're giving the top players a difficult task.
Yeah.
So for them, the competition is in fulfilling that task.
They had to
and you're giving the students with more problems, you're giving them extra support. Not from you, because we as teachers, we're external authorities, but from someone their own level, from a peer.
Peer.
And it's been proved in many scientific studies that peer learning is very powerful if used correctly. So, and that's connected to games too, as well, because sometimes there's this extra advantage you have when you're the last. Say, for example, Mario Kart. When you're the last in the race, they'll give you very special power-ups. So you still have chances to win, because when we're playing something, the moment we see we can't win anymore, we lose interest and we disconnect. So having a system to make up for that, to make your students be able to win in a way till the end of the lesson, till the end of the unit, till the end of the term, till the end of the year. If they have chances of winning, they're going to keep connected to the class. They're going to keep engaged. The moment they see they can't win anymore, they can pass the subject, they lose interest. And that transfers and becomes a behavioral problem in the class. And it creates a very negative dynamic in the class. So in a sense, having students support other students, it's a perfect cooperative system. It's what I like a lot.